The lamps hum like winter insects above Maya's head. "Judge, I request a human jury, not a blended panel today," she says. Judge Reyes looks up, eyes tired but steady behind light glass. "The system assigns hybrid by statute. My discretion remains sharply limited," he says. "I understand your constraint. I want humans deciding my liberty today," she says. The jury mesh already instantiates. 9 models connect, 3 humans observe, he says. A translucent ring blooms above the bar, showing soft, rotating glyphs. The glyphs become masks, then iconless silhouettes, then numbered neutral faces without mouths. 3 real faces wait behind privacy glass, watching like divers underwater now. Defendant holds 1 petition token. Spending it delays proceedings 50 minutes, he says. Delays also trigger administrative penalties. Your mother's subsidy queue would pause, he says. Maya feels the room tilt as the lamps grow colder and closer. Her advocate Jax whispers, voice low, hands folded like careful origami. "Use it later, not now. Use it when it matters," he says. "When would it matter more than this precise moment tonight?" she asks. "When a single question could tip a human toward doubt," he says. A clock blinks 16:09. Verdict window locks at precisely 1700. Maya studies the ring. Faint pulse rates climb as models warm. Her palms sting. She keeps them open. She breathes in and out. "Judge, I hold the token. I will not spend it now," she says. "Noted in record, the jury mesh acknowledges your present election of restraint," he says. The masks tilt, as if scenting weather. The glass faces remain still. Maya meets the glass instead. Her reflection looks calm, yet dangerous. "Proceed," Reyes says. The room answers with a soft and hungry click.
A courier drone parks on the sill, settles like a cautious bird. It projects the charge stack across the defense table in quiet blue. "Obstruction of allocation," Reyes reads, voice gentle like sand against steel. "You suppressed an automated alert recommending funds clawback from Mr. Santos," he says. Maya does not glance at Jax. She keeps her eyes forward instead. "I corrected a known error. The model flagged rent as fraud," she says. "You inserted manual holds. You bypassed the triage. You broke deployment protocol," he says. "The city depends on consistency here. Disruption invites cascading inequities for others," he says. "The city depends on fairness too. Automated holds crushed that household unfairly," she says. 9 model avatars blink like owls. Their pupils remain mercilessly steady and large. The jury mesh emits a chime. It signals evidence intake availability at once. Jax slides a small matte tab toward Maya. Its edges feel warm. "Trace print needs your lifelog key. Without it, provenance goes soft quickly," he says. "Soft provenance downgrades weight. The models penalize missing segments very strongly," he says. Maya swallows. She knows the gaps inside her private years very well. "What exactly counts as soft?" she asks, keeping her tone simple and even. "Anything with unlinked times, encrypted blocks, or withheld social co-presence markers," he says. "Every gap implies possible manipulation. The jury mesh distrusts holes shaped like choices," he says. The gallery murmurs. Microphones edit sound into even, respectable grains now. Reyes lifts a hand. His sleeve creases like a careful folding ridge. "We proceed to intake. Defense may submit the key or decline intentionally," he says. Maya turns the tab in her palm. The corners feel like teeth. She pictures her mother's cough, that heavy winter cough, and the subsidy notifications. She pictures her brother's night, the one with sirens, doors, and regret. Her heart thuds, she breathes, she keeps her shoulders square before everyone. Before submission, we note the following advisory on hybrid consent, Jax says. Reyes nods. The clerk projects the advisory in a narrow official frame.
Defense may continue without trace print. Court notes corresponding weight reductions tonight, Reyes says. Jax nods once, his jaw tight as string on a shipping box. We proceed, he says. We proceed and watch for ripeness to appear, he says. The masks brighten. The ring gains heat. The air smells slightly ionized. Maya keeps her gaze steady. She repeats names silently to herself again. Santos, mother, brother, teacher, paramedic, baker. Enough names to anchor courage now. She decides to hold the silence. She decides to spend breath carefully. The courthouse breathes. The city outside hums. The tide of evening rises. The lunch bell in Maya's chest rings again, loud and annoyingly bright. Reyes requests clarifications. The avatars summon more data like careful birds hunting. Defense, without trace print, your receipts remain soft. Weights drop below sufficiency threshold, he says. We advise key submission, otherwise adverse inference applies throughout deliberations today, he says. Jax spreads his fingers like fans. He whispers without moving his jaw much. 2 doors now. One door opens privacy. The other opens penalties and shadows, he says. If we submit now, your brother's night enters permanent civic memory immediately, he says. The jury mesh will punish the encrypted hour. It always punishes missing hours, he says. Humans may forgive missing hours. The models do numbers and punish gaps, he says. Maya looks at the 3 behind glass, the teacher, the paramedic, the baker. They sit steady. Their pens move. Their faces give small, restrained flares. Second door, Jax continues. Spend the token now. Force human-only questions immediately, he says. We might land a doubt early. We might win mercy and time, he says. But we lose the only late-stage lever. We surrender the best timing, he says. Maya's wristband buzzes. A clinic message leaks through like careful rain sound. Your mother's inhaler refill awaits pickup. Subsidy disbursement pending ongoing compliance checks, it reads. She imagines the queue freezing, the refill sliding backward like a tide. She imagines her mother at the window, counting buses and winter clouds again. Reyes watches her carefully. He sees the little storm behind her eyes. Defendant may confer. Clock remains strict. Court respects encounter with private cost, he says. Maya leans closer to Jax. Both of them breathe like measured machines. I can carry the exposure. My brother cannot carry exposure again, he says. Then hold the key closed. We swing at humans with the token, he says. Not yet, though. Not until a question pins them specifically. What question would pin them, she asks, pressing thumb to the matte tab slowly. Their tolerance for model punishment. Their willingness to let holes mean harm, he says.
Maya looks up at the teacher behind glass. She raises 2 steady fingers. Your Honor, please schedule a direct to human juror 2 on adverse inference, she says. Denied until trigger moment.
Defendant retains one petition token for targeted questioning, he says. The jury mesh proceeds with algorithmic inquiry until conditions for petition ripeness exist, he says. The masks tilt, the ring's light turns a shade like winter lemons. Jax exhales once. He hates lemons. Lemons mean sweetness hiding under knives. We ride it, he says. We ride it and we wait, he says. Maya nods. She feels the room lift, then settle like a harbor tide. Her choice stands. Neither door closes. Both doors stalk her down the hall. The first complication arrives with a sound like a throat being cleared politely. Traceprint requests scope notwithstanding refusal. Court may compel minimum backbone today, Reyes says. Backbone means timestamps only. Encrypted content remains sealed. Gaps remain labeled explicitly, he says. Jax grimaces. Backbone invites punishment. Two edges cut. Neither edge favors us, he says. Maya sets the tab down. She nods without words. She lifts her chin. Submit backbone only, she says. Let them watch my hours as silhouettes, she says. The jury mesh swallows the backbone. Thin lines draw across the projection like stitches. The stitches tighten. They pull around 1 hour shaped like a fugitive box. Adverse inference set to moderate. Defendant withheld content. Motive remains unresolved tonight, it says. The teacher behind glass writes faster. The paramedic watches the clock, not Maya. The baker breathes through his mouth. His breath fogs. He seems gently worried. Maya keeps her hands flat. Her nails press crescents into her softened palms. Second complication, Jax whispers. Model 3 cross-references your public advocacy contracts tonight, he says. The city paid you to audit welfare allocation. Your voice shapes training sets, he says. On the projection, documents flipped like fish. One lands with her signature visible. Model 3 speaks in a tone that pretends softness but carries little mercy. Defendant's outreach logs seed a portion of fairness adjustments within Model 3, it says. Potential conflict exists. Defendant's narratives influence thresholds. Thresholds influence this present case, it says. Maya closes her eyes a moment. Her stomach drops like an elevator. My logs asked the city to protect neighbors from cruel automation harm, she says. They did not ask this court to hang me for caring about errors, she says. Reyes raises a hand. The jury mesh recalibrates weights around Model 3 immediately. Conflict noted. Weighting adjusted downward. Independent corroboration required for any material assertions, he says.
Third complication, Jax says. Humans retreat when models speak. They surrender before noise, he says. The teacher's pen slows. The paramedic's thumb taps the slate. The baker swallows. Maya feels the room thinning. She feels her voice narrow into wire. She stands and addresses the ring. Her voice sounds balanced and calm. You punish my missing hour. You punish gaps you cannot understand tonight, she says. That hour holds my brother and sirens. Sealing it protects him from harm, she says. I will not open it. Punish me for protection. A number cannot blush, she says. The jury mesh quiets. The masks narrow. They consider something like weather now. Model 5 leans forward. Its shadow reaches over the table like smoke. Defendant values kin over civic transparency. Probability of partial self-dealing increases markedly, it says. Recommend sanction and restitution. Recommend supervised probation for public systems access, it says. Jack steps in. His voice stays even. His hands remain still tonight. The record shows defendant returned funds within hours after manual review, he says. The record shows Santos' household qualifies. The model correction saved the city embarrassment, he says. A microhook hums in the gallery. Even the clerk looks up and waits. Reyes nods slowly. His eyes shift toward the glass. He seeks a signal. The teacher raises her pen. She clears her throat. Her voice emerges careful. "Judge, may we ask a question of the defendant right now?" she asks. "Not yet," Reyes says. "Defense still holds a petition. Ripeness must exist," he says. Jax touches Maya's sleeve. His eyes carry maps and cliffs and tides. He says, "When the human asks, we answer with the token. We pivot immediately." He says, "But we need more. We need doubt seated in the jury mesh first," he says. Maya turns back to Model 3. Her voice cuts like careful wire now. "List top 5 corpora used for fairness thresholds last quarter," she says. "Redacted civic reports, public complaints, outreach logs, third-party audits, and synthetic counterfactuals," it says. "Synthetic counterfactuals built with whose narratives as seed conditions this winter?" she asks. "Weighted mixture includes defendants' outreach, mixture calibrated to reduce allocation false positives," it says. She breathes. The breath tastes like metal. The room tastes like disinfectant. "You are punishing me for protecting neighbors. You learned that from me," she says. "You punish the voice that taught you mercy. Your mercy remembers the teacher," she says. The gallery rustles. Somebody whispers. Hope blinks like a fragile buoy now. Reyes frowns gently. He looks at the ring. He looks at Maya's hands. "Defense, that cuts both ways. You also gain advantage from your influence," he says. "Explain why this does not contaminate this model beyond curable bias adjustments," he says. Jax leans in. "Now," he whispers. "Now we ask humans. Spend it now," he says. Maya stands straighter, her shoulders square. Her voice lands with controlled force. "Your Honor, I spend my petition token to ask the humans directly," she says. Question: when a model punishes sealed hours, what human harm justifies that? She says. The teacher answers first, careful and slow, weighing each bright syllable before release. Harm emerges when sealed hours conceal crimes. Absent that, sealed hours protect dignity, she says. The paramedic follows, eyes on Maya, pen still, voice kind but tough. I want provenance, but I respect protection. I weigh patterns, not single gaps, he says. The baker breathes, then speaks, words shaped like dough pressed into honest lines. Numbers forget feelings, feelings remember people. The hour belongs to you first, he says. The jury mesh hums, the masks dim, weight shift like sand in a glass. Reyes notes the responses. He taps the edge of the bench twice thoughtfully. Midpoint, Jax whispers, almost smiling, almost crying, almost singing like a lighthouse. We just taught the room something simple. Now we rush the failure mode, he says. Maya asks about adverse inference. The model reports 7 points of credibility loss clearly.
She asks about identical penalties for unknowable intent. The model states uniform punishment tonight. She turns to the glass. Does identical punishment respect your beliefs? She asks. The teacher shakes her head. The paramedic presses lips. The baker says nothing. Jax lifts a hand. Final complication incoming. Watch Reyes. Watch his eyes now, he says. Reyes leans forward, voice dropping. Contamination risks nullifying algorithmic participation, he says. If tolerance exceeds threshold, models recuse. Humans must decide alone tonight, he says. However, defense forfeits appeal to model authority on restitution calculations, he says. A sharp price unfolds. Everyone sees it. Numbers turn into bright knives. Move for null assembly, force recusal, win your first request by rule, Jack says. Or stay hybrid and argue down. We might land easier restitution numbers, he says. Maya closes her eyes. She opens them. She speaks with measured, steady words. Before moving, I will open the hour. I will pay now, she says. Jack starts. Maya, you do not need to open that painful window, he says. I do, but on my terms. I narrate, not the model, she says. She faces the ring. She faces the glass. She faces the tired benches. My brother called that night. He cried. He had a bottle and terror. I drove. We waited for help. We sat quiet. We breathed together. We sealed it to protect his dignity. We sealed it to stop gossip. Punish me. Do not punish him. That is the shape of mercy. Silence falls like canvas. Then breath rises. Then papers shift like small waves. The jury mesh recomputes. Adverse inference drops 3 points. The masks brighten slightly. Defense may move, Reyes says. Pen waiting above the bench, very still. Move for null assembly. Contamination exceeds tolerance. Recuse the models immediately, Jack says. The ring spins. Heat shimmers. The masks flicker. The room holds its breath.
The jury mesh rejects the motion, then accepts it, then tears itself apart carefully. Model 3 recuses first, citing seeded narratives that compromise independence beyond repair. Model 5 follows, citing proximity of family privacy cost just articulated in this room. One by one, they dim. They leave behind faint afterimages, like distant summer lightning. Reyes watches, jaw tight. He hates this feeling. He hates administrative black ice. Null assembly constitutes extraordinary relief. We land on human deliberation only now, he says. You get what you asked earlier. You also shoulder full human variability tonight, he says. Maya exhales. The breath rattles. Then it steadies. Then it brightens slightly. Jax leans in. His whisper carries relief and fear braided tightly together. We lose model leniency on restitution. Humans might fear being excessively merciful tonight, he says. Then we give the humans something sturdier than mercy alone, she says. She looks at the teacher, the paramedic, and the baker behind the glass. Ask us, the teacher says. Ask us something that forces a real reckoning, she says. Maya nods. She clips each word. She gives them specific, graspable edges. When does protection become deception? When does protection become civic theft instead? She asks. When a person hides patterns that hurt neighbors or hoards public resources, the teacher says.
When sealed hours mask violence, or siphons, or organized extraction, protection becomes theft, she says. The paramedic gestures gently. His fingers trace air like stitching a soft wound. When sealed hours shield health shame or family collapse, I call that protection, he says. When sealed hours prevent stigma, I call that duty, not deception tonight, he says. The baker clears his throat. His voice carries flour dust and square backbone. City calls everything a pattern. Sometimes people call that pattern simply living today, he says. We do not tax breathing. We should not tax care or borrowed bread, he says. Reyes steeples fingers. Deliberate now, he says. We pause the clock while you confer, he says. The glass fades from opaque to diffuse. Voices blur like rain on shale. Maya stands still. Jack stands with her. Their shoulders almost, not quite, touch. He whispers, "Your move inverted the table. You asked models to listen honestly," he says. They engaged until their own rules forced silence. Then humans stepped closer again, he says. Maya nods. The nod feels like the first full lungful after running hard. A chime. Glass clears. 3 faces return. Their eyes look brighter now. The teacher speaks first, voice steady, hands folded like small, respectful boats. On the charge of obstruction of allocation, we find the defendant not guilty, she says. On the matter of process violation, we assign formal censure and training. Restitution calculated by humans, models recused. We adopt community service over fines, she says. Reyes records the verdict. His pen moves like a quiet river along stone. He turns to Maya. He speaks carefully. His sentences land with defined weight. You win your human judgment. You also accept that humans remain deeply inconsistent, he says. Service includes shadowing intake staff. Design a transparent manual override protocol together, he says. Maya exhales. She expected worse. She feared a cliff. She found stairs. The jury mesh ring hangs dim and empty. Faint heat wavers like distant asphalt. Jack squeezes her sleeve. We avoided numbers calibrated to bleed for months, he says. We fed the room plain truth. We let the rules break under dignity, he says. Maya turns toward the glass. She bows. The teacher bows very slightly back. Outside, the sky turns the color of cut limes and then warmer peaches. She steps into the corridor. The fluorescent hum softens, like someone apologizing quietly.
Maya finds a bench away from cameras. She dials her mother carefully. The call connects. The cough sounds better. The laugh sounds nearby tonight. We can get the inhaler. The queue never froze. The window stayed open, she says. What happened? Her mother asks. Every syllable feels like warm bread on hands. Humans decided. Models left. We built a small bridge very carefully, she says. Jax sits beside her, silent. He lets the moment breathe its shape. He finally speaks, counting on his fingers, like a cautious child learning math. You taught the court a rule. You paid a price. You set precedent, he says. Your sealed hour remains narrated but unscored. Your brother remains human, not a number, he says. Maya nods. She still hears the masks dimming, the ring cooling to quiet. Across her screen, the advisory appears again,
this time with a small amendment. Continuum Logbook, Debrief A172. Outcome: hybrid consent achieved. Null assembly invoked upon contamination threshold. Protocol: adverse inference requires human review when sealed hours protect third parties. Limitations: traceprint reconstructs flows, not intents. Narration may offset but not erase gaps. Action: reserve one petition token for timing. Test questions on punishment for unknowns. Access level: municipal. Revision logged. Publish model deltas after stakeholder session. Maya reads it twice. She hears the teacher's careful voice again. She hears the paramedic calling protection a duty. She hears bread in words. Jax stands. He offers a hand. She takes it. Both hands shake. Next time, he says, we start by asking who carries the cost first, he says. Next time, Maya says, we make sure mercy survives the math and contracts, she says. They walk toward the exit. The lamps hum softer. The doors breathe warmer air. Outside, evening smells like rain and metal. Buses grumble. Windows begin to glow. People flow around them, pockets of lives with holes that privacy must hold. Maya looks up. The courthouse looks smaller. The sky looks very large tonight. She imagines future defendants reading today. She imagines neighbors judging neighbors carefully. She imagines a city asking, together, one steady question without easy music. When does protection stop being theft, and who decides the price of knowing?